As things stand, India is working round the clock to ensure the safe evacuation of its citizens from Ukraine. Under Operation Ganga, India will now operate 26 flights over the next 3 days to fly back its citizens who have moved from Ukraine to neighbouring countries. In the latest advisory, the Indian Embassy in Ukraine has issued an urgent advisory now asking all its citizens to leave Kharkiv immediately. The advisory in all capital letters says that under all circumstances they must reach Pesashin, Babai and Bezlidovka, and these are settlements. The spokesperson of India's External Affairs Ministry, Arindam Bagchi, said that the latest advisory was issued based on inputs given by the Russian side. 17,000 Indians have left Ukraine since the first advisory was issued.
We have been in communication with the Russian side regarding safe passage of our nationals from Kharkiv and other nearby cities. The advisory that has just been issued by our embassy a little while ago and also by us on the need for our nationals to leave Kharkiv immediately is on the basis of information received from Russia. We would urge all our nationals to leave Kharkiv immediately to the safe zones or further westwards, using any means available, including on foot, and keeping safety in mind.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold talks with the Russian President Vladimir Putin later today. And earlier today, the Indian Air Force's C-17 left for Romania for evacuation efforts. It is the first such Indian Air Force flight to be sent for evacuation of Indian nationals. 3 more Indian Air Force aircraft are scheduled to fly to Poland, Hungary and Romania. The Government of India has scheduled 46 flights till March the 8th, out of which 29 flights will take off from Bucharest, 10 from Budapest, 6 from Poland and 1 from Slovakia. Meanwhile, in the last 24 hours, 15 flights are scheduled to depart for India, bringing back those who were stranded in Ukraine. Listen in.
I'm also happy to share that as many as 15 flights, remember 6 flights last 24 hours, but 15 flights are scheduled over the next 24 hours. Some of these are already actually en route. 15 flights. So 15 flights over the next 24 hours, some of which, as I said, are already en route.
The Indian Embassy in Kiev has been shut down and the government said that all Indians have left the Ukrainian capital. New Delhi's top priority right now is to evacuate Indian students from Kharkiv, which is Ukraine's second largest city and has turned into a war zone in recent days. Our correspondent Siddhant Sibil asked the External Affairs Ministry on the number of Indians stranded in Kharkiv. Listen in to the response.
Siddhant, you mentioned how many people. It's a very difficult question to answer. We've been trying to give you assessments of where people are. I don't think it will be an appropriate and accurate, considering that we're asking people to move out. As I mentioned, we had an original number of about 20,000 who had registered. Our sense is that the number of people who were there were a little more than who had registered, because we have now a broad understanding that about 17,000 people, or near 17,000 people, have left. So there would have been a little more to begin with who may not have registered, but obviously we will bring back every Indian who's there. So I don't think I know that some people left last night from Kharkiv in some trains, today morning. So I think instead of looking at those numbers, let's see whoever is left, let's see if we can get them all in. As you know, in Kyiv we managed to do that. Fingers crossed that Kharkiv also continues the same way.
Our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibil now joins us live on this broadcast. Siddhant, thanks for joining us. Now, we just told our viewers about the MEA's response to your question. Tell us about the status of Indians, especially Indian students who are currently stuck in Ukraine at this hour.
Well, it's a precarious moment right now in the areas, the conflict zone like Kharkiv. We know that the Indian mission has issued advisory a few hours ago, and basically that advisory is based on a Russian input. Now, that was specifically emphasized by the Ministry of External Affairs during the briefing we saw, and basically that is a time of 9:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time that Indians need to leave the city and go to specific 3 places. Now, what is given to understand that this is a very difficult moment, and perhaps it's a moment, it's a very dangerous moment, and the focus is how the Indians can be brought outside of the conflict zone. Now, for that, the Indian Prime Minister and the Russian President are, in fact, the talks are expected to start very soon. This is the second time that both leaders are speaking to each other in matter of few days. Remember, both leaders had spoken to each other on Thursday, but on Thursday the situation was very different. But of course, yesterday, with the death of one Indian national, we know that both Moscow and Kyiv are dealing with a very angry New Delhi, and both the envoys have been called also yesterday. The Russian new envoy had done a briefing earlier today in which he elaborately talked about that the proposal has been received. So it's up to the ground commanders, especially the Russian commanders, to perhaps make sure that there is a certain safety, because it is an input based on Russian input. So largely it looks like the biggest focus right now here in Delhi is how these Indians, approximately 3,000 to 4,000 Indians, can be brought outside from the conflict zone and preferably in the Russian territory.
Right, absolutely. Now, as Siddhant, you just mentioned, the idea of getting information from Russia at this point in this conflict and the information coming to India from Russia was something that was discussed quite a bit. Moreover, the MEA also advised Indians to leave Kharkiv immediately, even on foot if necessary. What do you make of these recent statements?
Well, this is clearly a message that Kharkiv in next few hours will be perhaps the center of Russian action, and this is something that everyone is fearing for. We have seen overnight bombings as well, which have been happening. But for India, the biggest stake is its nationals. We know that India has given the new figure of 17,000 Indian nationals leaving Ukraine, and that is a positive development. We know Operation Ganga is in full swing. A lot of Indians have been brought back from countries like Poland, Hungary, Slovakia and Romania. Now the focus is the Indians in Ukraine. Approximately 20% are in the western border. They are keen to cross the border. India is facilitating, speaking to the governments of these countries, but 20% are still in the conflict zone, and that remains the mounting worry for New Delhi tonight. And that is why there have been hectic meetings which have been happening. Number of phone conversations are also planned. Yesterday, the Indian Prime Minister spoke to the Polish President, the French President, the leadership from European Union. And today, the big focus is the conversation between the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin, in which strong emphasis will be given by the Indian Prime Minister on an urgent safe passage for the stranded Indian students.
Absolutely, Siddhant. Thank you so much for all those inputs. We, of course, will be tracking all developments and outcomes that come out of that crucial call between President Vladimir Putin and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Thank you for joining us on WION at this hour. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.